Welcome back to the table, everyone. And you might be wondering, what is this? It looks like a big old mess of stuff. Well, these are some 15 millimeter figures that I want to show you. This is actually from a company called Rebel Minis. They are in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I was looking for some modern day military 15 millimeter figures or scale 1/100 scale figures. And I did see a couple companies, but I figured I would give Rebel Minis a shot because they are in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I'm in Clarksville, Tennessee. So I thought, well, let's give some credit out to a local company. And by local, I mean at least the same state, right? They're a few hours away, but let's give them some credit. I don't know about the sculpts, if these are in-house. I don't know anything about these. What I want to do is just bring the camera in, show these to you. But I know some people have questions. Why 15 millimeter? Well, the 28, these are not from Rebel, but this is a 28 one from Warlord Games. This is for bolt action that I painted up. I'm experimenting with contrast paints. I just think they look kind of cool, and then I get stuff painted quicker than I would going traditional routes. But the 28 is great, but again, for me, when it comes down to like figure scale, train scale, things like that, a lot of times games will have the large figures, but the scales are so short. Rifles shoot very, very far, and if you math out, a lot of times that means these folks in the large scales are shooting clear across the table. And then even when you start to go into a smaller scale like 15, weapons still have a very significant range across your tabletop. And so I wanted to go with a little bit smaller because then I could also field some vehicles and still have possibly a realistic looking battlefield, if you will. Now, a lot of games that are skirmish when it comes to modern, you play on like a 4x4, I've even seen 2x2, 3x3. So the footprints are smaller anyway. And so, I could probably play modern day skirmish games on a 3x3 table. But for some reason, I just don't think it looks right. So I wanted to go with 15 mil because individually mounted and then painted up, I still think they look pretty good. I mean, obviously they're a little smaller. So here's one of my Germans. This was Flames of War, but once they're painted up, they look pretty good. Here's a little airborne dude I got. They still paint up pretty nice, I think. So I said to myself, sure, let's do some modern 15. I've printed out a couple vehicles. I'll show you those later. They look pretty good. But that's kind of why I want to go with the 15 millimeter scale, is I think it will just play better on the table. I could be wrong. Plus they're cheap. Yeah, you get like 21 modern Americans. It was like $10, if that. And then I got 12 Spetsnaz, Russian Spetsnaz, and that was like $6, something like that. So the price is very good. But let's take a look at the sculpts. Now I painted these spray painted white because the contrast paints I found work great when you put them on a white undercoat. And I also thought if I just put the white spray paint, when I zoom the camera in more, it might be easier to see some of the detail. So what I'm going to do is just bring this down. Now I wish I had like a nice little display where I could put these up here. But this is one of the Americans. I think they turned out really good. You can see quite a bit of detail on the weapon. So this guy is carrying kind of a saw equivalent M249. You can see he's got the drum underneath. He's got a bipod. I don't know if that's super blurry or not, but he's got goggles, got a little bit of backpack there, some pouches, and I'm going to try using the contrast paints to come up with something that kind of looks like, oh, what are they using today? It's not Marpat, that's the Marines. I keep forgetting this, but it's the multicam, I think, is what they're using now in the Army. It changes all the time, but I think they're using like multicam. But I'm going to try like a multicam type of pattern on these guys. So this is one pose. So he's holding like his squad automatic weapon. And then here's one, probably like an M4. And again, he's got some goggles. And I like these because you can see like there's his little body armor dropping down there. But I like these because the figures don't look fat. They retain some semblance of normalcy. What I mean by that is if you take a look at, say, one of these Battlefront figures, they're just, maybe it doesn't show through, but they look just kind of chunky. Like they're kind of squat and fat. But when I look at these guys here, the Rebel minifigures, they're kind of thin. I don't know, they have a better proportions to me. You know, these still are very serviceable, but they just seem kind of chunky, if you will. Their proportions. That could just be me the way I'm looking at them, but I thought that these definitely have more humanistic, realistic proportions. So anyway, he's got his M4, he's aiming, and there's actually not too many poses. I would say a drawback to these would be currently I didn't see a whole lot of different sculpts. See here, I just grabbed another one off my tray, and it's that same squad automatic weapon guy. Here's one of the Spetsnaz. He's nice. He's got his little rifle. He's holding. Who knows if that's an AK-47, RPK? I don't know. I can't tell. But he's got his kit. He's got his little beret. Now my son saw these and he was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna paint those up to look like VDV." So he'll give them their little airborne beret and whatnot. So that's one of the Russians. Here's another one, slightly different pose though, another Russian. He's got his little beret on, holding his weapon. Backpack. I guess they're wearing some kind of poncho, so I'll have to maybe color the poncho, put a little camel splotch on it, and then like khaki pants or something. Probably don't need to do too complicated on these guys. Then here's another one. So far that's 3 poses for the Russians there, but there he is holding his rifle. Nope. Same pose, never mind. Yeah, so there's like 4 poses. I would say the only drawback to these figures has been there's not a whole lot of diversity in poses. Now here's another one of the Russians, but now I think the RPK might be a slightly heavier weapon. So that's one that they got there. There's his squad automatic weapon. Here they're holding some sort of their version of a bazooka, apparently. And then here we have another one of the Americans with a little bit of wispy glue there. Glued them down and then spray painted it. And that's one of the unique poses. So I'm up to 4 poses right now for the Americans. Here's another gunner. I mean, once they're painted up, if you painted them a little bit different, I like uniformity in the outfits. That's why it's called a uniform. So you're going to really kind of notice the similar poses after a while. Here's one. I think that's a dragon. I don't know. When I got out of the Army, we didn't have something fancy like this. I wouldn't call it a javelin, maybe. But he's holding a nice man-portable missile of some sort. So that's pretty slick. And the details on these aren't that bad at all. I think they're really good. Here comes another M4. Just from the distance here, looking at the helmet, from here it almost looks like something out of Star Wars. It doesn't quite look like the modern day combat helmet, but just probably the angle I'm looking at it. I don't know. Just something about the helmet on just that one sculpt kind of bugs me. I'm not quite sure if this was one of the Americans. I think it's one of the Americans. Kind of a goofy looking M4. Maybe it's just bent weird. I don't know. I can't tell if it's supposed to have a M203 on the bottom, so that might be a Grenadier guy. So I have to admit, you know, a couple of these I'm not quite sure what the sculpt is supposed to be. There's another rocket launcher dude. Oop, there's a guy pointing. So I think that's maybe 5 different sculpts. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sculpts. Yeah, so far. Oh, 6. Okay. Actually, that's not too bad then. That's not as bad as I thought. So I've got 6 sculpts here, 6 different sculpts for the Americans. and the pack came with like 28. So that means you're going to see some of them sculpts about 3 times. I mean, it's not, like I said, it's not terrible, but I'm not sure how many sculpts maybe people are used to getting. Yeah, probably about the same frequency of repeated poses with like the Battlefront ones I got. So I guess it's not as bad as I first made it sound. But then here's another American. Oh, that would make it number 7. So actually we've got, now that I've painted these and I'm looking at them, so if that's 7 different sculpts, that means then you have about 3 per pose. That's actually not too bad. I wouldn't say that's bad at all. So yeah, now we're just kind of cycling through ones you've already seen. But I just wanted to give a shout out to Rebel Minis. Also, because I'm in Tennessee, the turnaround time on the order was really good. I think they do money order, but I just did PayPal, and just like the next day, I got confirmation from PayPal that my order was shipping. So the turnaround time was really quick, and then because I'm in state, just a couple days later they were in the mail, and they came packaged really well. Each set was in its own nice little baggie, and then both baggies together were bubble wrapped really nicely. So the shipping, they came in really well, and I think these will paint up really good. There's some Spetsna guy pointing at stuff with his whole hand. He's not pointing with his finger. It looks kind of weird, but we'll paint him up nice. He's got hair, so I'm gonna have to actually paint hair a little bit on these. I think I'll give all the Russians to my son. He can paint all of them, and I'll do all the multicam type camouflage on here. So again, these are 15 mil modern by Rebel Minis. I think their website is rebelminis.com. But of course I didn't bring the package with me or double check that before I filmed. I just wanted to pull this out and kind of show you guys some of their work. And again, I don't know if these are local sculpts or where they got them from, but I think for some of the 15 millimeter modern I've seen, these look really well, very serviceable. And I think once you paint them up, they're going to look great. And I really like the attention they got here on the missile system. It looks really good. So just a couple left. One more of the Americans pointing that way. Then one more. I think that is one of the Americans. Just the helmet might have turned, or it's a boonie cap. Maybe it's a boonie cap is what that's supposed to be. And he's got, I believe it says M203. This is the only one that maybe kind of looks like the gun barrel is drooping there. I don't know if I'll be able to kind of straighten that up without bending the whole arm. So that's the only weapon that has some kind of droopage I didn't like. But otherwise, these are all really good. You can see the pockets on their legs, and they got kit that they're carrying. Well, there you go. That's going to be my jump. Like I said, I'm getting into the modern anyway, just because I've got a project coming up that I'll be able to share with you guys in a few days. So until then, thanks for watching the video. If you have other recommended 15 millimeter moderns that you recommend, because I don't think the Rebel Minis had a huge selection. They had a few, but if you have other companies you would like to share and recommend, please let me know, and I'll check them out. I might not be able to buy from them right away, but I definitely want to give a shout out to good stuff when you share it with me. All right, thanks a lot. Take care.